Okay, so this is usually where I start out my day, every day, working from home as a remote nurse. I've got my cat in the background, Lomez, and yeah, I usually like to have a really relaxing start to my morning. I get my breakfast, because I'm working from home. I can have a healthy breakfast if I so want. Sometimes I do want the occasional breakfast sandwich with bacon, but yeah, I usually just start out here. Put my legs up, I get my computer going, and I log in to my VPN. Now, VPN, if you've never heard about it, is kind of like security for your Wi-Fi and for your internet. So I actually need to log on through VPN with my phone, and my company gives me a kind of like an access code that I can utilize to tap into their VPN. So long story short, I just make sure that I'm connected to the internet, number one, and number two, to my VPN. It's a super simple process. It's just a press of a button. And if you are also going to be working remotely, you may have some kind of additional security measures that you have to kind of go through in place, especially if you're working from a company laptop or computer. So the next thing I do once I've logged into everything and everything's secure is I will see where I'm working for the day. A lot of times when you work in the hospital, you get on the unit and you look at the whiteboard to kind of see your patient assignment, right? So similar to that, what I kind of have and what our team utilizes is a calendar system. And on the calendar, it has on there where everyone will be working that day. And when I say where everyone will be working, I don't mean that we are going somewhere. I just mean like what area that we'll be working in, because I actually work in two different areas in my position as a nurse coordinator. And so I can either be answering email questions that come in from just about anybody. It's just so random. Or I can be doing donors clearances. And what I'm doing there is I'm kind of looking at medical charts and making sure the donor is okay to proceed to be a bone marrow transplant donor. So yeah, so I see which area I'm working in. Usually it's the donor clearance area. That's the majority of my job. And then about once a month, I'm working in the emails, just responding to random medical questions about donors that come in. And after that, then I spend a couple of hours usually doing that before I take my break. And I will usually go to lunch when I'm kind of feeling like, okay, it's time for me to take a break. Also, I'm hungry. We don't have any way to kind of like divvy up who takes lunch when. Usually the early morning starters on the East Coast take lunch earlier than the people that come on in Central Time, and you know, people in California, et cetera, et cetera. But there's really no like really set time. I think this will differ based on what company you're working for, but I'm just speaking from my own experience with my company, that we kind of take lunch when we feel like it's appropriate in our workday, and then also in consideration of our team members. So I'm not letting anybody know I'm going to lunch or anything. I'm just going to lunch when I feel like it's an appropriate time. So I'll take lunch. Okay, so now it's lunchtime and I'm in my kitchen in my RV. So something I really love about working remotely is that I don't have to pack my lunch before. I don't have to think about what I might want the next day. I always thought that was such a weird idea to have to like prepare. Like even like when you wake up in the morning, sometimes you don't know what you want yet. But working remotely, I'm able to really just be able to have what my body wants in that moment. And so I've done a lot more listening to my body working remotely. I do try to have my lunches, if I can, away from my computer. Sometimes that means just watching like some TV to like decompress a little bit. I like to be able to do that. But yeah, I think the thing I really love the most is being able to look at my fridge, see what I have in there, and if I don't like it, I can go somewhere if I want to go somewhere for lunch. Today I had pizza and a salad because that's what I felt like. And I know that that's, you know, maybe probably found in most cafeterias, but my point being is that I didn't like what I had here, and so I was like, well, I can go out for lunch, and that's something that you can really do in the hospital when you're working as a nurse. So that was definitely an upgrade. I do want to say that I miss those little lunch purses that all the nurses had where we would just like stuff it in the unit refrigerator. I do miss those, but still, I just love being able to have everything at my fingertips. And then sometimes, like if I just want to have a simple lunch and I'm not really like making anything fancy, I will maybe start dinner, for example. So like I've got a pan out now, and I'm thinking about going ahead and getting dinner started. And sometimes I really love using my slow cooker, my crock pot. I feel like that really helps me have more time later on in the evening. Once I get off of work, I don't have to worry about, okay, now I have to figure out dinner now that I'm off work. And I still, have those occasions where I haven't like meal prep during the day or anything, but I am saying that working remotely, you have the ability to do more meal prepping than you would if you were working away from your home. So that's one thing I really like about my lunch. I keep it around 30 minutes to an hour, and it just depends on what I've got going on. If I know I'm gonna be working a little bit later, and then also just in consideration of my other teammates, so that we're all not kind of like taking the same lunch break and everything, but we're all very independent, and we all support one another. So there's no like animosity. There's no like, hey, you're the younger staff member, so you get the last lunch. Like, it's none of that. Like, you get to go when you're ready to go to lunch, and yeah, just be mindful of your fellow coworkers. So I love lunch. All right, so usually after lunch, I need to sit down because my belly's full, but I don't really want to go back on the couch. So usually I'll kind of mosey over here to my desk area located in my RV. I've got my Wii Boost in the background that you can see, and I've got an additional monitor on here in addition to my laptop. But yeah, I usually just like to spend the later part of my day working here at the desk area. I've got a nice view, usually out my window, so it kind of like makes me not super tired, because I am able to kind of stay stimulated with things that are going outside. Maybe someone's walking by, but then also just not kind of like vegging in front of the TV on the couch. So I usually finish my day up here, and what I'm doing is again, mainly just reviewing donors' charts. I'm not making any phone calls to any of the patients, because usually I don't have to do that. I may have to call someone maybe once a month, for example, if a donor has a positive infectious disease marker. So something like syphilis, for example, is one. I may have to make that phone call and just ask them that they need to get retested, and then I'll have someone call and schedule that with them. But really, that's the only contact that I'm having with my donors, who are considered my patients. And besides that, I'm looking at I'm reviewing a lot of documents. So something that's really important in my role, of course, is quality. Making sure that you have a quality job done on the clearance that you're looking at. We look at a lot of identity things, so we want to make sure that we're reviewing the right documents for the right donor. We're not reviewing someone else's. And then also just understanding what normal blood work looks like, and when to get repeat lab work if maybe a CBC is off, for example, if that is something that we may want to repeat. Maybe it was a fluke, maybe they were experiencing some kind of illness. Those are just some things that most nurses have experience in. So I didn't have any remote nursing experience prior to coming here, and really the main things were just like, do you feel like you have a strong clinical set? Because if you don't have that, remote work isn't really going to be for you, because it really it relies so heavily on that background already being there. So if you don't have that, that's not something that you're really going to gain working in a remote setting. You should already have that. It's very similar to travel nursing. You should already have a lot of strong skills, and there may be a few things that you learn along the way, but for the most part, it's not something that new grads should really go into. If you're interested, if you're a new grad, you're interested in knowing what new grads should do in the meantime, in their downtime, I'll make another video about that and what I kind of would recommend, what your suggestions are. Or maybe you're a nurse with just 1 year experience and you want to stay on for another year to kind of grow your clinical skills. Go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notifications again, so that you can kind of know when those videos are uploaded. So yeah, this is where I finish my day, and I just love the flexibility of being able to go from one place to another within my RV and having like all the amenities of just being in my house. All right, and here's what everyone's been waiting for, my benefits. So you can see that they begin on the 1st of the month after your start date, and you do have to work at least 30 hours. We do have PPO plans and high deductible plans, and we have Delta Dental as our dental insurance. We do have a buy-up plan for that, and we also have vision insurance. We have, of course, some retirement plans and an annual incentive plan, which basically just is where the company will give you a bonus every year depending on how well the company did. If they did better than expected, your bonus will be a little bit more than expected. So this will be a different number every year, and again, it's just based on how well our company does. We have different goals and metrics that we try to get to, so if we accomplish those in different areas, it kind of determines how much we get. And then our PTO is absolutely beautiful. You can see here that if you are hired on as a new hire, it kind of depends on what month you were hired in to how many days of PTO you'll get for that first year. So in your first year, if you're hired between January and June, you'll get 24 days off. If you're hired after that, between July and December, you get 12 days off, and that just makes sense since you aren't working the whole year. And then at 2 years, you'll get 28 days off of PTO. And at 5 years, you'll get 30 days off. So right now I'm at 3 years of working in my company, so I have 28 days off. It's absolutely amazing. And then we do have some additional PTO if, for example, you were to be a bone marrow donor, or you needed to go vote, or had civic duty, of course, for bereavement. And then if you volunteer as well, you get some time off for doing those things. We also have holidays. We have 9 scheduled holidays and then 1 floating holiday that we can choose individually on how we want to use that. So for me, I like to use my floating holiday as my birthday because I like to do something special on my birthday every year. And we also have paternal leave. I meant to say parental, not paternal. We do have paternity leave and maternity leave, adoption and foster leaves, which is super nice. And then our employer does pay for some things as well, like tuition reimbursement. You can see here, eligible after 6 months of service, must be job related, and then there is a maximum based on if you're undergrad or graduate level. We also have short-term disability, long-term disability, and then some supplemental things that you can add on to your package would be things like pet insurance, identity theft protection, critical illness insurance. I believe that one has like a COVID policy in there, so that's really nice. And then we do have some well-being offerings. So for example, we have this Share Care Wellbeing Platform and Fitness Incentive. So some of you guys may know that, similar to if you do so many steps in a certain time period, you get like a check. So that's kind of what that is. But yeah, it's very, very nice benefits package that we have. I'll scroll back up to the top in case you wanted to see some of those numbers again and kind of compare them to what you're looking at right now. You can see that I think we have both great insurance as well as PTO benefits. I mean, I've not worked in a place where I've gotten 28 days off a year, so that's pretty nice. The one thing is that you do have to use it or you'll lose it, so just keep that in mind. It doesn't add up. But yeah, this is going to be different for every remote nursing company, but this is how it is for mine. So I wanted to be transparent and just share that with you guys, and hopefully you can use that to make a decision for yourself and your family.